Hello viewers, welcome to the other session of Environmental Impact Assessment. So far we have studied environmental audit, GIS, that helps to improve the environmental performance of any of the industries. So today we will discuss yet another tool for the environmental management, that is life cycle assessment. Before starting the topic, the life cycle assessment, first we have to understand what is life cycle assessment. Basically, there are two life cycle assessment standards that were created by the International Organization for Standardization. Normally we can call them as ISO 14040 and also ISO 14044. So the life cycle assessment by definition as such in ISO 14040 and ISO 14044 is the compiling and evaluation of the inputs and outputs and the potential environmental impacts of a product system during a product's lifetime. That means manufacturing of a product. So it is a technique basically to assess the environmental aspects and potential impacts which are associated with a product, process or service by using some of the criteria, that is compiling an inventory of relevant energy and material inputs and environmental releases. And the second aspect is evaluating the potential environmental impacts that are associated with identified inputs and releases. Next one, by interpreting the results to help to make a more informed decision about the human health and the general environmental impacts of a product, that processes as well as the activities. Sometimes because of these criteria, it is also referred to life cycle analysis, or sometimes it is also known as life cycle approach or cradle to grave analysis, or we can also say that it is an eco-balance. Next come to our mind that who uses life cycle assessment. These life cycle assessments are used by number of users, for example for the range of purposes also. So but according to the ISO standards on life cycle assessment, it can be useful for the identifying opportunities to improve the environmental aspects of the products at various points in their life cycles, and the decision making in an industry, governmental or non-governmental organizations, for example strategic planning, priority setting and product and process design or redesign stages. And also it is useful for the selection of relevant indicators of environmental performance. That also includes the measurement techniques and also the marketing strategies like environmental claim, eco-labeling scheme or environmental product declarations. And then normally it is used by the groups that will be useful for the life cycle assessments and the possibilities, and life cycle assessment could be used is mainly for the industries. So industry or otherwise large companies, they will use life cycle assessment as a way of identifying environmental hotspots or environmental gaps, and also to develop and advertise their environmental management strategies. So life cycle assessment studies are normally conducted by industrial associations and also the environmental concepts and tools research organizations. And sometimes the governmental departments are also around the globe, they are active promoters of life cycle assessment. Governments definitely will use this for the data collection and developing more effective environmental policies which are related to materials and products. And also the academic organizations, academic institutions like universities, those who are working or those who are researching and developing life cycle assessment methodology and data. So these people also will use the life cycle assessments. So now we will see that whether it is a new phenomenon or it is already existing. So first we will see the historical perspective of life cycle assessment. It is not a new phenomenon. In 1960s itself, Coca-Cola company, it explores the alternative containers besides the glass bottle. So life cycle analysis is also performed for them by the Midwest Research Institute. In 1970, oil embargoes in the United States create a concern about energy supplies. So the US Department of Energy Commission that studies on net energy analysis. They also call their method as resources and environmental profile analysis, REPA. In 1974, the United States EPA has MRI perform a new beverage container comparison. In 1980s, green movement in Europe brings focus back on the emission and need to recycle. So European industries also study their pollution releases and begin comparing the alternatives of the methods. So in 1998, Procter & Gamble has a Franklin Association. They will compare the laundry detergent packaging. In 1989, Procter & Gamble has, with the association of this Franklin, they also compare for this assessment for the surfactants. In 1992, a new study has been done by them only, that the answer that is depends upon whether one looks at the energy or water or solid waste. So these are some of the prehistorical of this usage of the life cycle assessment. So normally these assessments will be conducted according to the ISO 14040 and ISO 14044 standards compulsory. So normally the life cycle assessments consist of the 4 steps. Most important steps they are. The first step is the goal and scope of definition, and the second step is inventory analysis, and the third one is impact assessment, and fourth one is interpretation. Now we have to see all these steps in a detailed manner. Step 1 represents goal and scope definition. So that means according to the ISO 14040 standards, the first phase of LCA is the definition of the goal and scope. So in this step, all general decisions for setting up of the LCA systems are made. The goal and scope should be defined clearly and consistently with the intended application. So then LCA is an iterative process, we all know that, and this allows redefining the goal and scope later in the study, which is based on the interpretation of the results. If we will come to the goal, so in that goal definition also there are some points need to be determined. They are the intended application of LCA study. That means it can be used for many different applications like marketing and product development and product improvement and strategic planning like that. And the purpose of the life cycle assessment study is most important, and it is also vary greatly and will dictate the scope of the study. If the study is intended to be published, the scope will be more comprehensive and it will include a greater data collection effort and a formalized review process. If the LCA will be used internally, then no critical review is required. The scope will be dictated by the company's objectives and their access to the data also. That is also important. So the audience which will be utilize this LCA report, that can be the stakeholders, executives, engineers, consumers, and also depending on the client's objectives and usage for comparative analysis. If the LCA results are intended to be used for the comparative reasons, it must be determined. If they are going to be published in a critical review, it is an obligatory, of course. And the scope, so during the scoping definition, the product or the process system which is under study is compulsory characterized properly. That means all the assumptions which are detailed and the methodology is used to set up the product system, that is also should be well defined. So the factors that require defining before the LCA are 4 or 5 factors are there. The first factor is the function of the product. That means what are the most important characteristic features of that product. And the second one is the functional unit of the product. And then reference flow chart and description of the systems and system boundaries and allocation procedures and impact categories and the impact assessment method of the particular product, and what are the data requirements and data assumptions, limitations, data quality requirements, peer review, reporting type. So all these things will comes into the picture. So the function of a system product and the product's function has to be defined properly. So the demands on the product that have to be defined in a better way. So in the case where different products are to be compared, then the major differences in their function has to be documented with proper specifications. Which one is better or what are the gaps of particular product. Sometimes products have a large variety of functions, which makes it quite difficult to compare them with regard to the full range of functionalities. For example, everyone will be realizing and experiencing that the environmental impacts of the air conditioners which are to be compared. So then it should be clearly defined what are the functions they should have and how differences are taken into the consideration in the case. So where one product has more functions than the other, like that. And the next comes to the picture is system boundaries. So the system boundaries clearly defines which process will be included in or excluded from the system. That means life cycle assessment, it is helpful to describe the system using a process flow diagram showing that the process and their relationships between each other. If you will observe a generic process flow diagram which you are seeing with all processes that included in the LCA, it is marked as a system boundary. So a system's boundary are defined by cutoff criteria. So cutoff criteria is used to define the parts and materials that are included in and excluded from the product system. For example, cutoff criteria can be used to determine that any material production process that contributes less than 5% to the product's overall weight that can be excluded. Cutoff criteria also be based on the number of processing steps in a process chain, or it can be estimated by the contribution of a process to the overall environmental impact system. So there are four main options to be defined, the system boundaries, like cradle to grave. That means the material and the energy production chain in all process from the raw material extraction or raw material procurement through the production, transportation and use, and then phase up to the product's end of the life treatment. And the second option is cradle to gate. So in these all process from the raw material extraction or procurement through the production phase, that means gate of the factory, used to determine the environmental impacts of the production of particular product. And the third option is gate to grave. So in this process, from the use and the end of life phases, that means everything post-production stages, used to determine the environmental impacts of a product once it came out of the factory. And the next one is gate to gate. That means the process from the production phase only. That means it is used to determine the environmental impacts of a single production step or process. And the next criteria is the life cycle inventory. So by name indicates itself is that inventory. That means the inventory analysis is the life cycle assessment phase that involves the compilation and quantification of inputs and outputs for a given product system throughout its life cycle or for single processes. The inventory analysis also incorporates the data collection and the compilation of the data in a life cycle inventory table that describes about material and energy flows within the product system and its interaction with natural environment, raw material consumption and also emissions. It also includes sometimes data collection, defining system boundaries and calculation of energy flow and materials used, validation of the collected data and relating data to the specific system, and finally allocation of the impacts to that system. So the inventory analysis procedure comprises of data collection and calculation procedures to measure suitable inputs and outputs of a product system. So here the inputs and outputs may encompass the utilization of the resources and releases in the atmosphere, water and soil which are related to that system. We can also draw the conclusions from these data on the basis of goals and scope of the LCA. So this data also establishes the input to the life cycle impact assessment. So the operative LCA process of the inventory analysis is iterative. We know that as data are collected, and more is learned about the system and new data requirements or the limitations may be identified, that requires a change in the data collection procedures so that the goals of the study will still be met, we can say that. But sometimes some issues may be found that require revisions to the defined goal or scope of the study. The step 3 tells about the impact assessment that can be done on the basis of the details which are available from the inventory analysis. The results from the different indicators under all impact categories are described in each step. So, impact assessment that consists of the defining categories, classification, characterization and evaluation, or we can also say that it is a weighing process. So, the importance of every impact category is assessed by the normalization, and of course, it is eventually also by the weighing of ISO standards. If we will come to the step 4, that is the interpretation of life cycle, that consists of the identification of potential environmental issues, critical reviews, evaluation methods and conclusions and recommendations. So, according to the ISO standards, life cycle interpretation assessment or the interpretation, it is a systematic procedure that is to identify, quantify, checks and evaluate information from the inventory analysis or by the impact assessment of a system and present them in order to meet the requirements of the application that is explained in the goal and the scope of the study. So, this interpretation is also a process of communication that will be designed to give credibility to the results of the more technical phases of LCA like inventory analysis and the impact assessment, in the form of which is both comprehensible and useful to the decision makers. If we will consider one of the important factor of this LCA is the triple bottom line approach. This concept was introduced in 1994 and came into practice in 1997. So, it is also known as TBL approach or 3BL approach. That means it is an economical framework with 3 dimensions, that is social, environmental or ecological and also financial. So, the integration of social, environmental and economic dimensions into LCA is to signify the benefits of inputs and output modeling of a product on a quantifying sustainable effects. That means ecological and financial, for example. Many organizations have adopted this one. In general and broader perspective, this triple bottom line framework is used to evaluate the performance in a business to create a greater value. In conventional business accounting, the bottom line that is applied to either the profit or loss on a statement of revenue and expenses. From the past 50 years, environmentalists and social justice advocates, they defined this bottom line by introducing full cost accounting. In 2007, United Nations ratified TBL standard for urban and community accounting. The 3 sides of TBL are people, planet and profit. Again 3 P's are there. It is a coordinated effort to incorporate economic, environmental and social considerations into an industrial evaluation and decision making process. So, it is exactly the TBL is a tool for LCA to evaluate the positive and negative effects of industrial or any business activity on the economic line, social equity line and also the environmental perspective. So, the economic line, if you will take into consideration the impact of industrial business practices which are on the growth, efficiency and optimum use of resources. The economic dimension is a subsystem of sustainable development where there is an agreement from the resource transition to an economy that relies on natural resources and safeguard ecosystem capital from exhaustion. And the economic value that is provided by the organization to the surrounding system in a way that prospers it and promotes for its capability in order to support future generations. If you will see the social line of triple bottom line, that tells about the regulating and then useful and equitable business practices to the labor, human capital and the society. So, the main focus is that these practices extend value to the society and refund to the community by considering equity, empowerment, social cohesion and also cultural identity. So, these practices will definitely provide equitable wages and healthcare coverage to the people. the social performance of the business that will be focused mainly on the interaction between the society and the organization, and addresses different issues which are related to the community involvement and employee relations and fair wages. All these things will comes into the picture. If you will see the environmental line of TBL, definitely it will accounts for implementing practices that do not compromise the environmental resources for future generations. So according to the Brundtland report in 1987, sustainable development is considered the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. So this concept is developed in the context of conflicts between the environment and the developing concerns. Of course, it discloses the use of energy resources efficiently and safeguard vital life support ecosystems and reducing emissions of greenhouse gases. So the integrative theme of environmental sustainability that is mainly focused on ecosystem capital, where natural and controlled ecosystems that provide essential goods and services to human pursuit. So there are so many advantages for the triple bottom line, that is a TBL. So there is a socio-ecological agreement between the community and also the business, and it provides the increased transparency to mitigate the concern of the stakeholders on hidden information. The reporting demonstrates to stakeholders that the business is taking accountability to a higher level, and it also maintains and raises expectations of companies and improves global clout. So it provides evidences to the consumers about the diminishing natural resources and made them aware of the impact of particular business on the world. It also provides the knowledge of the company and also expands their relationships with other stakeholders in the company. So it also builds a sustainable environment on how the environment or how the business world can lend a helping hand in the protecting the natural resources which are quickly evaporating. So by uniting the employees in the business towards a common set of goals, especially ones that have a broader impact, that needs to just efficiency and profit that could overweigh the risk of the additional public scrutiny and the substantial policy adjustment. And another factor is the design for environment. So design for environment is a term that is applied for the many industrial methods for incorporating environmental factors in a designing process, that is a planning process of any product, and can be used to reduce the adverse environmental impacts of the designs throughout their life cycle. So the concept has been developed by the industrial designing process that can be ecologically viable, socially desirable and economically feasible, and then comprehensive and radical also. Dear learner, I would like to conclude this session by showing some of the principles of the product stewardship that helps in promoting product of any of the company. So that means stewardship by developing agreements and with the industry and the community to mitigate the health and environmental impacts from consumer product. So that means the most important step here it is responsibility. So it will be fixing up the responsibility for reducing the product adverse impacts by sharing them among the industry, government and consumers, and the greater the ability of any entity to minimize the impacts of the product in entire life cycle. So the greater would be the responsibility for addressing those impacts. So all product manufacturers are more responsible in reducing the adverse impacts of a particular product, and also internalize the cost. That means the entire life cycle of a product cost, from raw material procurement to mitigate environmental and health impacts during the entire production process to managing products at the end of life, that should be incorporated in the total product cost. So the proposed environmental cost of the product manufacture, use and disposal after use should be minimized to the possible extent for local and state governments, and ultimately shifted to the manufacturers and consumers of the products. So manufacturers, they have direct financial incentive to redesign their products to reduce these costs. At the end, I would like to emphasize one single point, that is incentives for the cleaner products and sustainable management practices. So definitely it will be beneficial for the policies and encourage and implement product stewardship principles that should be created, incentives for the manufacturers for the cleaner technology. So these policies should also extend to provide incentives for the development of a sustainable and environmentally sound system to recycle and reuse the products till the end of their life. Thank you.